I'll start with you, Ray. What was just your opening take on the game?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Of course it was.
It was beautiful. Once again, the premature crowning. Once again, me and Dave talked about this, like the premature crowning. It's like, look, it stops at least for this year. Once again, do I think he's going to be back on top at some point? Absolutely. But just for this year right now, like I said, those talks stop. I mean, my initial take is that I was just shocked. I was shocked and how it went down. But, I know we'll get into that. But, yeah, it was crazy. But congrats to Philly. They went from a team that was ringless to winning 2 in 7 years. So they've been pretty successful in this last decade. So kudos to them.
Honestly, fuck Philly, but I understand what you're saying. Bobby, how surprised were you at that?
I was shocked, man. I was more shocked by how bad Mahomes played. I think that was the most shocking part of the whole thing. I wasn't surprised that Philly came out and played like they did because they have been world beaters pretty much ever since their bye week. So that wasn't that surprising to me. What was shocking to me was that Mahomes had no comeback in him whatsoever. He had no fight, nothing. It was just he rolled over and took it like a little bitch. But not like the goat. Well, not like the goat should. Well, not like the goat should respond. You know what I mean? All this talk about him possibly being the goat. We've seen what the GOAT does down big in Super Bowls, and it wasn't that. So that was the biggest shocker to me, personally.
Very different teams that they were playing. But yes, I agree. I'm trying to keep this on the rails here. Dave, if I were to tell you that, before the game that Saquon was going to rush for less than 60 yards, would you have believed that the Eagles would be up by 24 points at any point in time this game?
No way. I mean, that's what we talked about, right? It was like, if anything, I mean, we literally said, the amount of ways that we were wrong, but we're happy about it. Like our Super Bowl preview show, I don't know if we said anything correct on that. But like everybody's echoed here. I don't know anybody that expected that to happen. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Philly fans were super confident in their team. I'm sure some people picked Philadelphia to win. Nobody picked Patrick Mahomes getting his cheeks clapped in front of like a billion people. That didn't cross anybody. If they tell you they said that shit, like ask them to put a timestamp on it, and show the video. I went into that not knowing I was going to see one of the most one-sided beatdowns I have ever seen. I'm referring, of course, to Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. But as far as
it was pretty dope. It was pretty
amazing.
Yeah.
I if you guys want to talk about it, I would love to. But just to answer Mike's question, to not take it off the rails. Yeah, I mean, I really echo what Bobby's saying. It's in order to really be as fair as possible, because I am about to spend like every minute you give me, Mike, just clowning on Patrick Mahomes in any way that I can, and all the people that were up in our fucking comments talking about the shit I was saying about him and Joe Montana. I can't wait to do that victory lap. But just to do a little garnish, just right at the top, just to say, I don't know a lot of QBs that could play well or that much better than that when their O-line gets absolutely swissed up like that for the entire game. The Eagles D-line, I think, was the thing that impressed me the most. I was surprised by Jalen Hurts' performance. I was surprised by Saquon not putting in a career day because he was on such a heater of doing that. I was surprised that like a little white boy got a pick 6 on Pat Mahomes. Like, again, was not on my fucking bingo card, but like whatever. But I was most impressed by their D-line. I mean, they were really a problem. And like the kind of stats that they were putting up would be the coolest stats you would ever want to hear about your team. It's like this O-line is the heaviest that any O-line has ever been in a Super Bowl. Like the D-line is the tallest. The guys are the baddest. It was like they were introducing like Muhammad Ali or something. It was like obviously we're going to get into cliche here, but everybody was saying, this was one in the trenches. It's one in the trenches. Like we knew that, we knew that. We knew it was one of the, did you? Like, what platitude were you really pulling out the week before the Super Bowl? Defense wins championships. The best quarterback's going to win. We were doing it. I'm not saying we weren't guilty of it, but I just don't want people to do revisionist history saying they knew the whole time because of what the Chiefs lines were like. I'm sorry, the Eagles lines were like. So, yeah, I give him a little bit of a break because he was a hunted man for the entire night. But, yeah, I am going to spend the rest of the podcast shitting on him. So that's probably what's going to get clipped. So, so none of this is really actually means anything.
We'll make sure that gets clipped. But Bobby, given that what we've seen, like I always think back to the 07 game for the Pats against the Giants. That was one of the most dominant defensive line games I've ever seen in my life. Was this better? Especially given that they didn't blitz once. They did not call a single fucking blitz. And Mahomes was running for his life.
I don't know if it was better because of how high-powered that Patriots offense was, but it was close. That's the only one that I compare to, though. That's exactly what I was thinking the entire game watching it. Was like this was like the 07 Patriots all over again.
Brady had a better game against that D line though. In fairness, like
I mean,
it's another
he walked
thing
off
to
the
add.
field.
Like I was saying, like
Wait, he walked off with the lead.
Yep.
So it is what it is. But.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, don't pull every arrow out of your quiver yet to like do the Brady Mahomes debate. And I think I was at least proven right about that. Like it's like you guys can just walk away now and be like, yeah, no, talk to me in a few years, kid. Like, It's the three-peat didn't happen. The Eagles are three-peat busters. That was a narrative that we touched on, and I wish we had ran with it like a little farther. I think Ray might have been the one to bring it up. That like they're the three-peat buster, or was it you? Mike brought it up, and it was like I wish we had stuck on that like a little bit because we would have been the only ones, right? To like point out, I think that dichotomy and that's what happened. I mean, it was just like it was, but I mean, Brady definitely had a better game when that happened to him, and I feel like that D line, scary
for sure. But I mean, Ray to be sacked 6 times, lose 30-something yards against no blitz. I mean. What was worse? The fact that is the finals, that there were no adjustments made at halftime by the fucking Chiefs. Like, how did they not do that?
I mean, what adjustments could have been made though? I mean, when their front four is literally just making all the rushes happen or making all the chaos happen, like what can you do? Like, are you bringing in Blake Bell to chip in? Are you bringing in Kelsey to to chip in because he was a non-factor in that game? I don't know. I mean, like I said, they was determined to not let him dominate them on Sunday. Like that was clear from the jump. And I'm not gonna lie, it was 24-0 at the half. I texted my homie who was from Kansas City, and I said, "Look,
yeah, I was worried too. Yeah, I was like, probably this is his comeback now.
I was might be Houston 2.0. I was like, there's no way. In my mind, like, there's no way he goes out like this. I was like, that's just how I felt, how most of us felt that I seen him play. So I was like, don't even worry about it. Like, it's gonna be another hell of a story, part 2, and then he gets crowned the GOAT in front of us."
I think everybody was saying that same thing. It's like, fuck, this is just set up so perfectly for him to come back. Our Discord was like quiet during halftime. Everybody was just like, that was a good halftime show, huh, everybody?
And I was like, oh, it got to 34-0. I was like, oh, they actually would not even score. So, so it
was weird, right? It was like a weird let off because it was like they came back out from the second half, and I think everybody collectively thought that like Leo was making wings in the kitchen. And like, it was just, there was an eerie silence in my house. And it was like, we all kind of thought it, but then they didn't score right away. Like if they had just come out and done that thing where it was like, everybody starts to go, oh shit. The Eagles, I was also thinking, and I didn't want to say this is a jinx, prime type of team. Like they were kind of giving up leads throughout like they were winning those games. They weren't quite getting fully came back on. They weren't letting up a lot of comebacks, but to losses, but they were, it sounded like oddly sexual at any which way I said it. They were kind of looking vulnerable at the end of games, right? Like there was moments, not fully Ravens bad, but there was moments where it was like, ooh, they let that team back in, or like, ooh, they didn't quite win that game as like convincingly as we thought they would, or like Nick Sirianni still is a moron. So there was like all this perfect storm energy coming, I think, for all of us in our heads, and then it just didn't happen. Like if they had to come out and scored right off the bat, if they had to come out and just made like a statement offensive drive, I think maybe panic may have ensued, and there would have been at least an opportunity to come back or make a game of it. But too little, too late. Like that. I mean, that Eagles team just looked the business.
I mean,
the
score wasn't.
So
DK, the score wasn't even as close as it was either. It was a blowout, and
no
garbage time. Don't let anyone tell you his stats meant shit either. Like there was like 3 TDs, 2 TDs, whatever it was.
We'll say
like that was all garbage time. All garbage time.
But that 50-yard bomb to Worthy, that's a hell of a
crazy.
That's
Crazy.
a hell of a
Yeah,
throw.
but
The
he's
only
not.
he can
But
make.
he's not throwing that in a circumstance where they're
He should've.
close. You know what I mean? You're just watching. I know, but like you're just watching them game manage like the whole time. If they're close, they're not throwing bombs like that. So
But
it's like
that's what he's been in Super Bowls, though. He
right,
hasn't been
I
phenomenal.
mean, the
Should've done
Tampa Bay
too.
one.
Yeah, he hasn't been phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, once again, they won. I mean, once again, when they beat San Francisco for the first time, if Jimmy G hits Emmanuel
Yep.
Sanders in stride, this ball game is over. Like they're the champions. So a lot of things, and once again, luck is always a part of every championship. I'm not going to say a nitpick, but it's just like he has not been phenomenal in every game for the Super Bowl. I thought he was really good in San Fran 2 years ago in overtime, but Hurts played him the first time. Hurts played him on Sunday. So I mean, I don't know. I just think to me, he's been, I would never disrespect him and say he's a regular season merchant because that's a joke. That's not the case. But he still has to have a great Super Bowl performance, in my opinion. Like that's still the next thing for him to do. He's won, obviously, but he needs to have a great game.
Mahomes has never been in the Super Bowl without being down 10 points, at least. Like,
That's
that's a
I think
fact.
that was true of Brady up until the Buccaneers Super Bowl though. So
No,
like he didn't. Brady like didn't score in the first quarter for like
he
6
scored,
straight.
but I'm scored down 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did score in the first quarter, which they brought up Kevin Burkhardt right up.
Just a quick question though, DK. Has AIDS been inoculated in Philly? Like, can you just say that they do not have that anymore?
I mean, it's one of those things, these things that happen to us every now and again. And maybe I should take it for what it's saying, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't think I know anything. Like we're watching the Philadelphia Eagles like run the gamut over everybody in the NFC. And then like ending last week's podcast being like, I don't know, like, did they really play anybody? Like the Lions kind of shot themselves in the fucking dick, and like the Commanders really shouldn't have been where they were. And, like all this stuff happening, like maybe they got kind of lucky getting there. But like they looked so the business that I like, sure. Yeah, there's still AIDS there, but like they're Magic Johnson, right? Like they just have like, they were just so talented that none of that mattered, right? Like their lines were so enormous. Their quarterback had such a good game. He also had a good game in the loss, by the way. Did you see them flash the stats against the Chiefs, which is like something we forget? Like he had a pretty decent stat line, probably more scores than in the Super Bowl MVP performance. And like I was really impressed with him too. So, and then Saquon, they put all their eggs in that basket. It really was 85 Pats Bears. It really reminded me of that a lot. And so even if Nick Sirianni, the thing is they didn't put it in Nick Sirianni's hands to fuck it up, right? Like It was just like done and dusted by the time. If it came down to like the coach needs to make a decision here, like a la Belichick circa name a year, where it's like, okay, like if we can just like, does he stick or twist here? Does he go for it? Does it, one of those situations? Like, yeah, I would have probably been pretty sure Nick Sirianni would have just AIDS'd everywhere and they would have died of AIDS related complications. And I just still do think that, but man, they're so good. It's just like, they just had so many better football players, and that's how it shook out. I don't know.
And
I liked it. I enjoyed it.
It's hard to imagine AJ Brown leaving now. I mean, that was the talk before the game, is that he's unhappy, but I think winning cures that, right? He stays. He has to stay.
Yeah, winning cures everything. Though they're gonna
Bobby,
run back.
Besides the Eagles defensive line, like who was your the standout performance for you in that game? Because for me, it wasn't Jalen Hurts. I thought he made good throws.
Rupert Eugene, baby.
I was gonna say he made good throws for sure, but like he did not steal the game. I thought AJ Brown and Smith were the ones that sealed that game. They were just always there. They combined for I think 7 out of the 21, 7 out of the 17 catches, right? And they just dominated the game. So for you,
I picked Jalen Hurts.
Who would you pick?
I mean, someone's got to
Really?
find AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. All the talk coming into the game, talk coming into the game was how he couldn't do it, and he just proved that he could. So in my mind, his stand-up performance, he played amazing. And this is the second time in the Super Bowl he's outplayed Patrick Mahomes, for the record.
So again, I know that 2 of the people here hate that I do this, but if you just looked at the stats, would you say 17 for 22 for 221 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick is amazing? is
Those-
MVP worthy.
70 yards on the ground too, because he
Right.
ran.
He was the leading rusher, so that was it, right?
Yeah. When you had the guy all year who couldn't break 60, and he led them in rushing. So yeah,
But
when he
unfortunately, that what Ray just said, I think leads to the kind of overall point, which is the same thing I always say to you when you bring up just the stats. Like you watch the eye test, like when he ran. It's becoming a cliche at this point, like the Aaron Rodgers sort of like when he chose to run and how he chose to run. Like he was lowering his shoulder, like he was making moves on guys. Like it wasn't like, oh shit, I can't believe they left the middle of the field open for the quarterback to run through it. He was making moves, he was moving like a runner. He was taking hits. He didn't fumble the ball. It's like you spent an impassioned few minutes like shitting on Lamar Jackson for fumbling and like, blaming that on why they're not here. And I just think it's like, it's so hard to give it to anyone but the QB just by the very nature of what Bobby said, right? It's like the game's in your hands, right? So whether you run or you throw, I just think Ray's point is the eye test. Like, yeah, you can look at his rushing numbers, but also when you watch him, his decision making, with the exception of that interception, I don't know what the fuck he was doing there. That was weird. But I was just like, don't throw that, dude. And his mic skills, like I know you guys are wrestling fans. Like I would say like he's on the bottom end of mic skills for a Super Bowl MVP. So if we were really trying to pick, I feel like, an AJ Brown or a Cooper DeJean or something would have been a lot more fun to like on the mic afterward to get the Super Bowl MVP like interview. Like a Jalen Carter, like that would have been a lot of fun. I know he didn't have like a ton of stats on the page, but he was pushing the line back the entire night. Like he was absolutely killing them. So
like Josh
Sweat.
What would
Josh
have to
Sweat
happen
was
for the
amazing.
quarterback to not win?
Yeah,
Right.
he was.
But it makes sense why though, right? Because he does have the
Yes.
game in his hands, and he did like there was crucial moments. So I do get it. If I'm being selfish, like the little cornerback being like, I don't know, I just caught it and ran into the end zone. Whitey Willoughby, like I don't like that would have been great. So, but yeah, fuck it. I think he probably deserved to go to Disneyland.
Right? Who would it be for you? Would it be Jalen Hurts?
I mean, Hurts deserved it, but I think I probably would have went with Sweat. I
Right.
think
That would have been
that-
so cool.
Yeah, I think
Did
that
the end ever won?
He could went off. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I don't think he'd ever won.
But it's just like I just and to get on the mic and say, hey, don't sweat the small stuff. Like that'd have been, and then just drop the mic and walk off with the championship. Like that'd have been dope. But
It would have been like the Von Miller win in that Broncos Super Bowl. It would have been like,
Right,
fuck yeah. Like that's just registering that the defense like got them there and like won it for him.
Exactly.
I just like Peyton Manning not winning it. That was the thing I liked about that Super Bowl MVP.
Well, I mean, he was awful.
He was terrible that
Yeah.
entire run.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, I think yes. If anyone else who deserved it would have been Sweat. You could have gave it to a team. Like that, like the one Patriots like give it to a team. You could have given it to
Or a line.
That D line would have been great. They would have deserved it. But hey, Brandon Graham goes out a champion too. Now he's a 2-time champion. He goes out on top.